Hey everybody, welcome to the Cripescast. I'm your host, Charlie Berens. This is the podcast where we talk to people for and or from the Midwest. This week, my guest is Paralympian Ahalya Lettenberger. She is from the great state of Illinois, ladies and gentlemen. Does that make her a Bears fan, though? You'll have to find out in our conversation coming up. But it was great talking to Ahalya. Actually, we met at the Brewers game a few weeks, I can't remember when it was. I gotta stop drinking. Anyway, she was throwing out the first pitch, and I was there, and we bumped into each other, and I said, "Can I wear your medal or no?" And she let me wear it, which was very nice of her. And then I said, "Do you want to be a guest on the Cripescast?" And she says, yes. So we're honored to have her. By the way, those Olympic medals, let me tell you this, they are weapons, okay? Honestly, like, you know those throwing stars? You know, this is probably less badass than a throwing star because there's no point. But if someone throws a medal at you, an Olympic medal, you're going to have a bump on the noggin. I'll tell you that right now. So, our conversation is coming up real quick here. Also, in my hand right now is a copy of the Midwest Survival Guide. It's a book I've been working on for the past year. If you've been listening to the Cripescast, I've been talking about it for a little while now. But the book is finally in hand, and I got to tell you, it's feeling pretty. It feels like a textbook. And I don't want to scare any of you. It's not complicated, okay? You just open it up, read a little bit of it at a time. You don't need to read the whole thing. Actually, it is a lot like a textbook. The way I use textbooks anyways. Geez, I can't talk. Jeepers cripes. Having a problem with words today. Anyway, if you want to order it, pre-order it. It's coming out November 16th or 17th. It's coming out in mid-November. Okay. Just in time to get a bunch of stuff for folks on your Christmas list. Okay, so that's real good. Got that going. And what else do we have coming up? Oh, yes, shows. We've got a lot of shows. Let's see here. I'm going to be in Arizona this week, but I think those shows are sold out. Where else are we going to be? We're going to be in Green Bay, Minneapolis, Wausau, Manitowoc, Marshfield, the whole deal. Milwaukee, just added a third show in Milwaukee. Baltimore. I can never say that one. Anyway, got a bunch of live shows coming up. This past week was a lot of fun. We were in Rochester and Mankato. Mankato was cool because it was like it was my first sort of like arena-esque show. It was a basketball arena we were playing in. I was right on the free throw line, so which historically is not a good place for me to be. I tend to miss from there, but that show was a ton of fun. Went out into the audience, talked to the audience, and here's what I love about the Midwest. It is a dry campus on Mankato, so the first person I talked to, of course, you know, they snuck in a little something, a little hooch, a little Smirnoff. And one could argue it's dishonest to bring in a little booze to a dry campus, but this woman was very upfront about the fact that she did it. So, you know, honestly, can you even blame her? So she gave me that. I didn't ask for it, but she gave me that as a gift. So that's why I go out into the audience during these shows, ladies and gentlemen. What else is going on? Last night I saw a movie. I saw Dune. Anybody see Dune? Anybody? No, Charlie, this is a monologue, not a dialogue, so you can't hear if anyone saw it. Well, I'll give you the review. This is how I imagine they pitched it. Star Wars meets Tremors, and a lot of confusing plot points in the middle, and there you have Dune. It was fine. Honestly, it was fine. It was a very fine movie. Was it good? It was fine. So there you go. If you're really, really, really bored, I suggest you go see Dune. If you have better things to do, you should just do those better things because it's probably not worth it. Okay, what else? Oh, if you are not following Cripescast on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, make sure you do that. That's at Cripescast, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Also, leave a comment and rate the podcast. That helps us out so much. And finally, folks, I want to thank our title sponsor, Jolly Good. That's Jolly Good Soda, the pride of Random Lake, Wisconsin. You can find their soda at any grocery store in Wisconsin. And if you can't find it, well, just go up to the manager and be like, hey, what gives? Where in the heck's the Jolly Good? But really want to thank Jolly Good. They've been an amazing sponsor and supporter of the Cripescast for over a year now. So big thanks to them. Okie dokes. That'll do it for the intro today, ladies and gentlemen. Now it is time for my conversation with Ahalya Lettenberger. Yeah, so you a big Brewers fan or what?
Yeah. I'm from Chicago, but my whole dad's side of the family is from Milwaukee. So I grew up a Brewers fan.
Nice. And now, as a Brewers fan, especially when growing up in Chicago, I want to
Oh
applaud
yeah.
you. I want to applaud you for, hanging in there. You have to deal with the Cubs fans,
Oh yeah, for sure.
who are not even arguably just the worst,
Oh,
mathematically
for sure.
speaking.
Yeah.
I like White Sox fans more because that's like saying I like chocolate more than garbage, but that's all right. That's good. So did you get to a lot of Brewers games this year?
Not this year, just because I was like, I go to school in Texas at Rice.
Uh-huh.
So I've been here in the summer training for Tokyo. I was in Houston, so didn't get to make it back very much.
What does your dad do, by the way?
My dad's he's a certified accountant, but he works for BMO he
Okay.
manages stocks.
Got
Yeah.
it. Got it. Got it. Got it. And your mom?
She's also a certified accountant. Yeah.
Oh, nice. Is that how they
Yeah.
met? Accounting
That
together?
is how they met. They both went to Michigan. So
Oh,
they
nice.
met there. Yeah.
Very cool. Very cool. And then so you were born and raised in Illinois, and then you just
Yes.
came up to Wisconsin occasionally to see your dad's side of the family. Is that the deal?
Yeah, definitely.
Do you like Wisconsin more than Illinois? Or are you going to say no? You like Illinois? I mean, it's tough. It's tough to say you don't like your home state, but Wisconsin
That's a
is pretty
tough
cool.
one. Wisconsin is pretty cool. And my grandparents have a lake house in Minocqua. So
Oh, okay.
I grew up going there a lot. And so that was like my happy place, So it's kind of hard, like hometown versus like vacation spot. I don't know.
Yeah, yep, yeah. It's you. Can't, I won't make you pick one. How does that sound?
Yeah, that sounds good.
Did you grow up athletic?
Yeah, I started off playing like soccer and softball as a kid, like in elementary school. But eventually, like, I have a physical disability called arthrogryposis that affects my legs. And eventually that just became too hard on my legs. And that's kind of when I discovered swimming.
Hmm. And what drew you to swimming? Was it the fact that it was easier on your legs, or had you always just been into it?
Yeah, like I grew up taking swim lessons, but I had never thought of like swimming competitively before until I was like, I need some way to keep playing sports because I just grew up loving sports. It was kind of like an outlet for me. And so, yeah, then our neighbors recommended, why don't you try swimming? And ever since like the first time I jumped in a pool, it just provides a freedom that other sports couldn't give me.
Hmm. Yeah, it's also like really good on your body too,
Yeah.
isn't it? It's like one of the best because running, gives you knee problems
Oh,
or
yeah.
something. Yeah, and so my dad actually does it a bunch. He's not good at it, but I mean, he does it
Yeah, yeah.
recreationally. I shouldn't say that. If he's listening to this, which he doesn't, he never listens to this. So you know what? He's not good at it. There you go. And I'll be
There
happy.
you go.
I'll be happy if he gets upset at me over this because that means he listened to it. That's my.
There
way
you
of saying
go.
it.
Yeah.
Was it sort of you got in the pool and then that became your thing? You knew it right away, or was it something you had to kind of grow to love?
I would say I loved it right away just because, like I said, like it gave me a freedom that I didn't really have before. Like I didn't have to be in a wheelchair or wear leg braces in the pool. It just gave me this sense of belonging that nothing really had. But when I first started, it was definitely tough. Like I was slower than everybody else, especially since I was swimming against able-bodied people who could use their legs and I couldn't kick. So then when I found like para swimming and could swim against other people with disabilities, that's kind of when I really like truly fell in love in it. And it felt like this thing that gave me like a home and a community that I hadn't had before.
Yeah, that's an amazing story. And was access to the para program, was access to that readily available, or did you have to really seek it out?
It's tough because I think that sports for people with disabilities isn't the most accessible thing, like whether that be like growing up, there's not a ton of programs locally that you think of, like Park District or whatever that kids play, or your school teams that are super accommodating to people with disabilities or people with physical disabilities. And so like I found there was a local club in Chicago, out of Chicago. It's like a company. It encompasses like all the Midwest. It's called Great Lakes Adaptive Sports Association. And they are like an adaptive sports organization that helps kids or adults, whoever really with disabilities, to get involved with sports. And so that's kind of how it became accessible to me.
That's awesome that exists, and that it's that it gave you that in your life. And was there a moment where you knew that you were going to do this and be an Olympian? Like, is there a moment you're like, oh, I'm really good at this, I could take this all the way?
I think I knew that I wanted to try for the Paralympics, like after my first para meet, just because I hadn't been surrounded by a lot of people with disabilities before. Like growing up, like I was raised in a really supportive family and a supportive community. I had great friends, but I think there's like a certain stigma around disability, especially, I don't know, just growing up, there's a stigma around disability that made me want to hide my disability or pretend like I didn't have one. And so when I went to my first para meet and there were people missing arms, missing legs, like people in wheelchairs, people who were blind, that really made me realize like, oh, I shouldn't be like ashamed of my disability or try to hide it. Like this is something that is super cool. And seeing like what all these people had accomplished, like meeting these Paralympians who had traveled the world, like swimming, doing incredible things, I was like, this is what I want to do. Like, this is what I want to become. And that was when I was like 12, I think. So that's kind of when I set my goal that I was going to be a Paralympian one day.
Yeah. And do you think that stigma is going away? Do you think we're getting better as a society about embracing, or do you think there's just a long way to go still?
I think that we are getting better, but I do think that there's still a really long way to go. I think like in today's age, like we are generally a really accepting, like people are becoming more accepting and of differences, whether that be disability or race or, whatever it may be. But I think there's still a really long way to go. Like even just with accessibility, like you think of accessibility being a thing that's like come a long way, but then still like I go to places that don't have ramps or elevators. So it's like, even though it seems like we've come really far in like disability rights and acceptance and inclusion, I think there's still a really long way to go, and especially in sports too.
Yeah. And can you give maybe a couple examples, if you think of any, that somebody without a disability, it may just go right over their head, but for you, it's like, come on, how have we not figured this one out yet? What are some of those things?
Well, I'll give an example of sports first. I guess like when I was deciding on where to go to colleges, if an Olympian or someone who had the potential to go to the Olympics was trying to find a school to swim at, they would be getting recruited like super heavily, like people would be begging them, throwing scholarships at them for them to come to their school. But like for me, because there's not like in the NCAA, there's not like a point system for athletes with disabilities. No schools like obviously I'm at Rice now, like they wanted me. I'm super grateful to be here and it's been amazing, but like it was definitely harder for me to find a school than it would be for able-bodied athletes, just because there's not a system in place. It's not very accessible or inclusive to athletes with disabilities. So I like had to ask schools to go to their school instead of the opposite. That would be true for normal athletes.
And excuse my ignorance, but I don't understand the point system.
Yeah. So basically like in swimming, like the faster you are, the more points you score, and that's how you like win meets, right?
Okay.
And
sure.
so for me, since I'm slower than able-bodied athletes, like I can't score those same points, and there's not a system in place that like takes my disability into account. So because of that, basically like I can't score points because I'm not fast enough. And so because of that, I don't provide that same like scoring value that would help the school like win a meet.
I see. So the system, the NCAA system, should change, in your opinion.
In my opinion, yes. I think it could definitely be much more inclusive for athletes with disabilities.
Mm-hmm. Let's take it past the school system now.
Yeah.
I mean, when we met at the Brewers game, you let me wear your silver medal. That was cool. That's a big. That's a weapon right there. You know?
Oh yeah,
like that thing.
It's heavy.
Yeah. But what kind of opportunities open up for Paralympians if they win a silver or gold or whatever? Are they good opportunities, and how do they compare to a able-bodied Olympian?
That is a really good question. The Paralympics have come a long way in terms of awareness, but it's definitely nowhere near like the publicity of the Olympics. And so like I've gotten some cool opportunities like from being a silver medalist, right? Like I got to throw the first pitch at a Brewers game. I got like a welcome home parade. Like Rice did a really good job of like, I got to go onto the football field during a home football game. And like I've gotten some sponsorship opportunities, but compared to an Olympic silver medalist, it definitely would not be to the same extent, especially when it comes to sponsorships, publicity, things like that. For example, like the Paralympics had nowhere near the TV coverage of the Olympics. We just like, I don't know, like, did you even see, like, it's like people didn't even know it was on TV because it's just covered much less than the Olympics. And so media coverage, news coverage, sponsorships, they definitely have a long way to go.
It's a chicken and the egg thing, it seems to me. You know, are people not interested because they're not interested, or are they not interested because there's not as many opportunities for them to become interested in it?
Exactly,
So do you think it starts with people's interest, or does it start with the media's coverage, in your opinion?
In my opinion, it first comes with like media coverage or education. I think a lot of people just aren't even aware that the Paralympics exist. Like I'm an athlete with a disability, and I didn't find out about the Paralympics till I was 12. Mm-hmm. So I think that it first comes with education and awareness that like this is a really cool thing that exists. And once people know about it, then they can decide if they're interested.
Mm-hmm. But now taking it outside the Olympics, are there things like when you just are going out or whatever, are there things that you notice that you're like, come on, how have we not figured it out? You know, like I think as a comedian, you kind of or what I guess do just in my normal stuff is like take these observations and try and write jokes out of them or whatever. But like if you were doing that, like are there certain like things that you say, not that they're a joke or whatever, but just like your commentary on it of like, come on guys, how have we not figured this out?
Oh yeah, it happens to me all the time. Like just with accessibility and stuff, like I'll be walking with my friends, like on a sidewalk, I'll be in my chair, they'll be walking, and I get to the end of a road and there's like not a curb cut. And I'm like, how have we not, like, right. Come on, this is the simplest thing. Like now I have to like go around and find a ramp somewhere, you know?
Yeah. And it's, so that's a big one. And then, buildings, is it buildings. Just not having elevators and that kind of a thing?
Yeah, definitely like not having elevators or ramps, like in restaurants, for example, like sometimes they'll just be like one step up, but that one step prevents me from getting in, you know?
Right.
People just don't even think about that. Or like even the littlest things, like having people have, or like places have wheelchair accessible stalls, but then like me going in and there being like all the stalls open, but then the person chose to go into the wheelchair accessible stall. Oh my God.
That's
happens
it.
all the time.
That's a thing right there that, I mean, I was almost gonna write a bit about that too, about like all this like, you know, stupid Midwest guilt stuff that I have, like growing up Catholic, like I'll apologize 5 different times or whatever, and then the ending, you know, and then I walk into a bathroom and I use that stall without thinking of it, and then I'm like, I'm an asshole, you know, like I'm the worst, you know, and like. But it's something that you don't you don't think about, or you say, oh, you know, no one's in here, it's fine. Why choose that one? So I can't sit here. I'm definitely part of the problem on that as well. And but I think it takes like talking this stuff out, because a lot of people see this stuff, but they're like, it's never going to be an issue. But hearing that is a huge issue.
People just don't think about it.
Yeah, but there's no excuse, you know, to not think about it. I you know, so are there other things like that? I mean, I think this is good.
Yeah,
like people just start opening their eyes. Like now I know every time I'm walking on the sidewalk and I see, oh, there's no curb cut, like I'll think about that, you know? Yeah. So I think it's good to throw these things out there. Any others that come to mind?
Yeah, there's definitely more like handicap spots. Like people will be like, I'm just going to park here for 5 minutes, run in, grab this thing from the store. But those 5 minutes might be the 5 minutes that I pull up and I'm like, well, my spot.
Yeah, come on, bro. Well, you know what? They need that. They need that $250 fine for the handicap stall. I think that's it.
You're right. That's a great idea.
Put a sign up. It says 200, crap with caution, ladies and gentlemen, you know. That's just an annoying thing. That's part. Now, do you get used to that, or is it something that you don't ever get used to, and you feel like there needs to be drastic change in this area?
Obviously, I've gotten used to it like over the years, but it's still just every time it's still annoying. You know, it's just like an inconvenience, especially if I'm like, I really have to pee, and then the stall is being used. Come on, you know? Yeah. Stuff like that. It's just an inconvenience that I've learned to be like, yeah, of course this happened, but that doesn't mean it's like acceptable, you know?
No, it's not right. It's not acceptable. And I just think it takes people moving that to the top of their mind, as opposed to it being like, oh, sorry, you know? After the fact.
Yeah.
How far do you see yourself going as a swimmer? What is your goal?
That's a good question. I definitely want to go to Paris 2024. Now, like, it's only 3 years away too. And then from there, like, I think it'd be really cool to go to LA 2028 because it's in the US. Like, that's awesome. But I also want to do other things, you know, become a person, like get a job, you know, all that fun stuff. But definitely Paris, and then potentially LA.
And so you train for that now. Are you doing, how often are you doing meets and competitive, it'd be a meet, swimming meet? Wouldn't be a tournament, right? It would be a meet.
Yeah, I mean,
my sisters were swimmers, so I know some of the terminology. How often are you doing those, and are there enough opportunities for you to continue working on your craft, or are those opportunities also limited when compared to able-bodied meets?
I definitely get like a ton of opportunities to compete, especially like since I'm on a college team. I compete like twice a month for them, and then para meets I have like one every like few months, but it's definitely sufficient for
Okay.
me to be.
You're like, I don't need more. I don't need more.
Yeah, I don't need more.
Yeah. When you compete, is that a source of stress for you, or is it a source of sort of release?
Good question. I would say it depends. I think this summer it was really intense, and like I've learned how to deal with the nerves and the stress of meets, but it's still like when I went to Tokyo, that was the most nervous I've ever been, right? And there it felt like it's hard. Like before I swim, it's a major stressor. I'm so nervous. Like I'm just like, let's get this over with. But then after it's a major release, you're like, wow, I just did that. Like that was what it was all for. So it's both. And I think college meets and like now that I'm in like a period of more, it's less pressure since I just went to Tokyo. I get a little bit of time to just enjoy swimming. Now meets are a major release. I'm just like swimming with my teammates, having fun, seeing what I can do. But yeah, bigger meets are major stressors.
Oh, jeez Louise, ladies and gentlemen, how in the heck are ya? We excuse the interruption. We just gotta thank some of our amazing sponsors here. And folks, we don't just take any sponsor here at the Cripescast, okay? You wouldn't have any idea how many people approach us about, doing an ad for body waxing. Okay, but we say no. We turn down that money because we just want to promote, the places that I know and love. Okay, and one of them places is Jolly Good Soda, okay? Now, you might not be able to wax your what have yous with Jolly Good Soda, but I tell you what, it makes your soul a lot happier. Okay, you pour yourself a Jolly Good floater on your old fashioned. I like to go sour power because I like to live on the wild side. It's just a fantastic soda, and you can buy it at jollygoodsoda.com. They also got some Jolly Good candles. So if you want, your bathroom smelling like a Jolly Good instead of whatever else you just put in there that possibly made you feel jolly good, but it don't smell jolly good, you light up one of them candles and you keep her moving. And also, folks, I want to mention Duluth Trading Company, the most fantastic clothes in all the Midwest. I wear Duluth Trading Company every day. I got some of their sweats on right now, okay, and they're nice. I wear them to the gym. I wear them to bed. I'm not a very hygienic individual, but that don't matter because the clothes are very comfortable. Duluth Trading Company, it's made for a functional life. And, might I say, it's also very fashionable. Check them out at duluthtrading.com. And finally, folks, if you're looking for Manitowoc Minute merch, I'm talking stuff that says keep her moving, or watch out for deer, or ope, or go Packers, and you know what, the Bears. Check us out on ManitowocMinute.com or Cripescast.com. Just click on the merch section. You can also get us at your nearest Fleet Farm. Okay, also we got hats and koozies, cribbage boards, the whole nine. And of course, the Midwest Survival Guide is up there too. So get your Christmas shopping done early. Head on over to Cripescast.com and keep her moving. Hey, speaking of the Cripescast, let's get back to it right now. What do you do for fun when you're not doing this?
Just being a college student, I think. Hang out with friends, movies, board games, doing normal college stuff.
Yeah. Do you have like a hobby that, something like that? Favorite hobby? Yeah. And the reason I ask on the hobby thing is sometimes, I get asked that a lot, and they're like, yeah, what do you do for fun? I'm like, I work, and so
no, right?
Right. I mean, so I just want to figure out how much time do you have to yourself, and do you take for yourself? Because obviously that's important when you spend so much of your life competing at an Olympic level, or that striving for that. So do you have those? Do you think you need more? Do you think, no, I'm pretty well balanced?
Between swimming and school, I am pretty busy, but I'm really like into outdoor things. I love going out, paddle boarding, kayaking, hammocking. I also really like golf. So,
oh, nice.
Yeah. So whenever I get the time, especially when I'm home, I love golfing.
Are you good?
Am I good? That is good question. I wouldn't say I'm particularly good. I'm decent. I'll say that.
Okay. Yeah, I'm awful. at it. I'm so bad, but I enjoy getting out and just being in the I spend most of my time in the woods, honestly, with golf, if I'm going to be quite frank with you.
Gotcha.
But I like that too. Now, that actually brings up an interesting point too. Is there enough when it comes to outdoor activities and accessibility? Is there enough accessibility in outdoor activities, do you feel?
I think so. I think there is, I think there's a lot of accessibility for outdoor activities, especially. I would say like some things is hard. Like obviously I'm not going to go hiking with my friends or like doing crazy physical activities, but like there are definitely options. Like even for like skiing or something in the winter, there's opportunities for like I can sit ski and things like that. So
yeah, is that fun? I've seen a lot of folks on the slopes doing that. That looks like a blast.
It's so fun. Oh my gosh, it's awesome.
How often do you do that?
Because of Tokyo, I like didn't go for a while, but I'm like, I really want to go this winter for sure. This is the season
to get it. Oh yeah, make it happen. Is that expensive? Are those I don't know what they're called, but are they expensive?
Yeah, that is true. Like that is another thing. Like accessible, like outdoor equipment or like recreational equipment is quite expensive. Like for example, I like to bike, but my hand cycle that I use is like super expensive. So that's another thing people don't really think about is that like a normal bike might cost like $100, $200, but a hand cycle or like an accessible or like a adaptive bike would cost like $5,000.
Wow. Yeah. No, that is a huge thing right there because you can get a bike that's $5,000, a traditional bike, but that's if you're the top tier. So for an entry level bicycle for you is they don't make them cheaper than that, huh? That's kind of the baseline.
Not really.
It's the entry point. Yeah, those are, and I feel like, they could make. I used to be a bike mechanic actually, so thinking about it, it's probably a demand thing. If there's not enough demand, they're not making enough, so prices go up. So, yeah, I mean, I think that's really interesting to go into because as more people become aware, there could be more demand for that if it's out there, or if people could say, "Hey, how do we make this cheaper?" Because I'm trying to think. Do you know why it is that expensive? I'm thinking from a mechanic's perspective, it seems like all the same parts, but just on a different part of the bicycle. Is there a part of that you think is the reason for it being so cost prohibitive?
Yeah, honestly, I'm not really sure. I haven't really thought about it that much. Like it is like very similar parts. Like you have everything a normal bike has is just like oriented differently, right? Mm-hmm. So you'd think it shouldn't be as expensive as it is. Yeah.
Well, it's, I don't know. Again, I think it's just good to address these things. See if maybe some listeners out there get inspired by this to, make inexpensive, accessible bikes or whatever. So that's always the hope, What do you see yourself doing after you're done with the Olympics, after you're done competitively swimming?
Yeah. Right now I'm studying bioengineering, so I want to like design medical devices like prosthetics and exoskeletons to help other people with disabilities.
That's so cool. Is that intense? Is it? Are you better at school or swimming?
I would say I'm better at swimming than school, but it is intense. That's why I really am very busy between doing school and swimming. It's a lot.
Yeah, I get even scheduling this interview. It was so difficult. Yeah, and not because of you. I mean, my schedule is stupid as well. But just seeing how busy you are based on our texts and everything, Yeah, and you're like, yeah, don't have a ton of leisure time, Charlie, so you better appreciate the time I'm sitting down for your little podcast here.
No.
So, and do you hope to, is there a particular area you focus on in that, or that you're particularly passionate about, or are you still exploring that?
I think I'm still exploring, but definitely I would say like lower limbs. I'm really interested in like just developing technology to help people walk or like do things that they can't otherwise. Like kind of what we were talking about with the like sporting equipment being expensive, like designing lower cost devices that can help people do things that like they wouldn't get to otherwise. I don't know, like just daily activities.
I think that's incredible. That's really cool, and good luck doing that. I can't even, imagine. I had a hard enough time being like a bike mechanic. You know what I mean? I screwed up enough stuff just on that. So that's cool. Now, what advice would you have for someone who's coming up who wants to be a Paralympian? What advice do you have for them? Things that you wished you knew going into this?
I would say like to just have fun with the whole experience. Like at times it is a lot of pressure, you put a lot of pressure on yourself. You feel a lot of pressure, especially as you start moving up the ranks, but just to have fun and enjoy the whole experience, and to also just like never give up. Like I would have never, it's so cliche, but like I really never imagined like winning a silver medal. All I dreamed of was like making it to the Paralympics. And so just like dream big, set your goals high, because you really never know what's possible until it happens.
And if you could talk to your younger self, your 9-year-old self who's maybe struggling to fit in, or to just be like everybody else, what would you tell your younger self, knowing what you know now?
I wish I could just go back and tell myself, like, it's cool to be different. Like, don't be ashamed of being different or think of yourself any less, because your disability is something that makes you special, and it's something that makes you you. And like now I wouldn't change that for the world. I would never change my disability, because it's a part of me that has made me who I am. Like I wouldn't be the person I am today without it. And it's helped me like do things I never would have otherwise or never dreamed of. So just embracing yourself for all your differences and challenges.
Yeah, I think that's incredible advice. Very universal, no matter who you are.
Yeah.
I think we all have those things that we're like, I wish I was X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then you wouldn't be you. So who gives a
Definitely.
F, right? You see what I did there? Alphabet jokes. Good, Charlie. Cool. You've done a ton of interviews, of course. Is there a question that I didn't ask that you're like, I wish no one ever asked this question. I wish they would.
Think so. You did great.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, that's kind of the weird part of the interview where I'm like, yeah, can you do my job for me? Would you mind? You're doing enough. It's not like you don't have enough going on, being an Olympian, trying to think about how to make everybody's lives better, just be a question asker too. Well, thank you so much for sitting down with me. That was awesome.
Of course. No, thank you for having me.
Yeah. And wait. I forgot to ask. Being from Illinois, being from the Midwest, what is your favorite? And you've traveled the world. You're from the Midwest, but you've traveled the world. What is your favorite part about the Midwest that they don't have in the rest of the world?
Honestly, okay, again, most cliche answer, but really, okay, I'll do cliche and then I'll do not cliche. Okay. Cliche is the people. Yeah. The people are honestly the nicest. Like the Midwestern people just are the friendliest, nicest people ever.
Wow, when you go other places,
Cripes. You miss it.
Yeah, you do. You do.
Non-cliche answer is cheese. I'm like a huge Parmesan cheese is my favorite food, but cheese
Solid
in the
choice.
Midwest, come on.
Doesn't get better than that. Favorite cheese in the Midwest that you can't get anywhere else?
I mean, like I said, my favorite is Parmesan cheese, but you can get that anywhere, right? I'm a sucker for just like cheddar cheese. That is just amazing. Yeah.
You like cheese curds?
Oh my gosh, yes, of course.
Okay, squeaky or deep fried?
Deep fried.
Okay, yeah, I see how it is. I now know your whole personality based on that question. We should start it off with that. My questions would have been so much more well informed had I known. Oh well, that's okay. I hope you can get back to the Midwest soon. And I don't know what the deep fried cheese curd life is in Texas, but I don't think it's as robust as it is here in the Midwest. So I hope you can get back, have yourself some deep fried cheese curds. And
Me too.
Yeah, and I really appreciate you. Thank you again for hanging out and talking with us.
No, thank you so much for having me.
You bet. All right, we'll talk soon.
Yeah, bye.
Bye-bye. All right, and that about does it for this week's episode of the Cripescast. Make sure you follow Ahalya on Instagram. That's Alett, ALETT 19, ALETT 19. And you can follow the Cripescast at Cripescast on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all that sort of stuff. And that's all she wrote, ladies and gentlemen. We'll see you next week, okay? Until then, everyone keep her moving. Tell your folks I says hi, and watch out for deer. All righty, bye-bye now.
So roll out the barrel and get the band brewing. Life's got you down, just keep her moving. It's on Wisconsin, the Badgers say it's the old Wisconsin Jubilee.
You know, sometimes when you're ice fishing, you put your foot in the walleye hole and go ass over tea kettle and you think you're done. No, you gotta keep her moving.